Hello and Happy New Year. Happy 2026. We are going into a new year as we have a full moon coming up in the axis of Capricorn and Cancer. So that will be a full moon in Cancer that we're having right on January 3rd, right after the new year. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. It's almost New Year's here for me as I'm recording this, and I got done watching the last episode of Stranger Things. I really enjoyed that. Um yeah, I really really did enjoy that. So it's been nice. It's been pretty chill today for me. And it's exciting to go into a new year. Um, there's a lot going on in the new year. Um, Starting off with Chiron going direct. Chiron is stationing direct at the very beginning of this year, which is a really good sign for bringing our healing journey forward. Yeah, because there's been a lot of going backwards and revisiting the past. And with Jupiter and Chiron, that's been locked into that um, aspect of a square. It's been a lot of traveling back in time and thinking about old wounds. And we're on the precipice of moving forward with what we've learned. And the next year, at some point, I believe Chiron moves into Taurus at some point, and I'll have to look more into that. But that's really going to be a big moment because not only is Chiron moving into a different sign soon, but it'll be moving into the sign that it was discovered in, and it'll be having its return to its discovery, and that'll be really exciting. That may not be until 2027, fully, but it's something to look forward to. And it's a feature of this full moon that's coming up at the beginning of this year. Chiron stationing direct. So let me start sharing the chart so we can look at it. There we go. Perfect. So we've got the sun at 13 degrees Capricorn and the moon at 13 degrees of Cancer. And this will be happening January 3rd, 2026, which is a Saturday. Early in the morning or late at night, however you like to see it, um, at 2:03 a.m. Pacific time. And so the m- the sun is going to be conjunct Venus and Mars as this is happening, right in the middle with Venus and Mars, right side by side. It's a very personal experience for all of us, this full moon. And um we're being pulled into family dynamics again. But like I said, we're reaching more of that precipice of healing. And the moon will be a trigger for this full moon, obviously, as it passes by Jupiter right after this full moon. And Jupiter in Cancer has been really, especially retrograde. Jupiter in Cancer has been really bringing up your the way that you feel about family and what it means to you. What are the things that you've been thinking about lately that are about the meaning of family, the meaning of togetherness. If you have sort of like a loose family that's made up more of friends and stuff, and that could be part of what you've been experiencing. Um, Especially during the holidays and with people getting together and then separating again, which is usually what happens during the holidays. People travel to get together, and then those moments are fading as the new year comes in. Um, it starts to get very, very quiet after the new year, and by the time this full moon hits, it'll be a very quiet moment, actually. We're halfway through Capricorn season as we go through this full moon. And Capricorn season can be about isolation. Um, after the festivities, there is a period of time that's really appropriate to go within and to um, it's like a hibernation period, right? The winter here in the northern hemisphere. It feels like everybody wants to hibernate, and we get past all of the holidays, and then that feeling really starts to set in, and that's where all that quietness really comes from, is that we are very um like overstimulated after the holidays, and it feels really good to just wind down, you know. That's how it feels when you're feeling when you're going through this journey intuitively. You just intuit that you need quiet time. And I am here to say take the quiet time because as the year goes on, the energies will start to ramp up again. And so we're in this very nice, quiet period of time. Um, Literally, the moon in Cancer is signaling for self-care, for um, self-nurturing, and if there is any caregiving that you're doing, to just find peace in that. Yeah, because like I said, with Venus and Mars here conjunct the sun, we're all going through a very personal journey. These the planets, Venus and Mars, they're personal planets to each and all of us. And when collectively the personal planets are together, all together like this, even Mercury just entered Capricorn. And we're really being asked to conserve our energy more, to draw inward and to see um, what is it that we are yearning to build on the inside. Um, Saturn, that is in Pisces, is coming into focus with all of these planets in Capricorn. Saturn is the ruler of all of these of Capricorn. And so all these personal planets are answering to Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces. So it's like very much ultimately saying to quiet down and to go within, uh, listen to what's going on on the inside, because that's where you're going to be building your new year from. Your um, people tend to like to make resolutions for the new year, There's nothing wrong with that, but looking at what kind of energies that we are being influenced by, yes, every year the new year comes in Capricorn season. And every year we're going to make resolutions. And they say that by February, it's just out the window. And it's because by February, the sun has moved into a different sign. And so if you want to look at making any kind of resolutions for the new year, um, look at what Saturn ultimately is wanting right here and now from you. It's the transiting Saturn that is in Pisces that is asking you to conserve your energy and to build a spiritual foundation. But Saturn in Pisces has been asking you to do this whole time, and so you've probably been intuiting this. And right now, with the full moon, um, triggering these energies, we're gonna feel this um more of like a completion to what we've already started with regards to our spiritual building, foundational building. Um, some people are being drawn into the past. That's another thing about Saturn is that there's a lot of karma around Saturn and the energy of Saturn and bringing you back into the past or your past lives even. And one of the reasons why there's been such a huge revival in spirituality, not just organized religion, but spirituality itself, is because Saturn has been going through Pisces and meeting up with Neptune in Pisces, and it's really making a very strong um, case for making contact with the spiritual realm. And there's a lot of esoteric wisdom that people don't necessarily understand. And Saturn also can represent fear, um, the tendency to fear certain things, um, not in the way that Pluto brings out of fear. That's very deep fear. Um, what could be the difference? Saturn is more of like an authority, and so it is this, sense that, well, here's the thing, is that I recognize that people are fearing what comes next, what's beyond this life right now. And that is that makes people very hold on to things very, very tightly. And so we'll be seeing this thing where um as Saturn and Neptune are making their last moves in Pisces before they go into Aries. A lot of people are going to be trying to figure out um, spirituality, um, and what part that they play in it. And I understand that it's been a really confusing journey for some people who are part of one organized religion and they don't understand how all the organized religions all come together in one pretty much unified spiritual context. Uh, Now is a beautiful time to actually um, lean into what you can find spirituality out there, like different kinds of spirituality, which I know that there are some organized religions out there that disagree with being curious about spirituality. Um, but letting your intuition guide you, that should be, you know, most people know in their deep in their gut, right? What is right from wrong. So, yeah, Saturn in Pisces has been um, bringing up a lot of confusion. I mean, Neptune in Pisces has already been confusing, but Saturn on top of that has been really making that confusion extra real. And it's been a good time this whole time the Saturn has been in Pisces to um, get really more in touch with that gut intuition, your heart space. And that's one of the other things that I see in this chart with the sun in between Venus and Mars in Capricorn is trying to find some kind of uh, a way to become more of the person, um, a personality perhaps that is more responsible and is able to uh, conserve, reserve, and really put the pieces together to build something. But where are we? What is our motivation? I guess that's my point. Is what is the motivation behind what we're building anymore? Uh, because there's been a lot of identifying with what we don't want, identifying with what we don't like, and this full moon might be asking you to look inside yourself again and find a way to identify with something that you value and that inspires you. Yes. I think that is a really good point to take away from this is that this full moon, this new year, is really asking you to get inspired, you know, start taking action from an inspired place. And you can only really be inspired if you can nail down what your values are. And these days, your values are not going to be what you don't like. And you can't identify with that. It becomes a void, and that's what people have been living in. Uh, I believe ultimately the Neptune in Pisces has been creating that void, um, which is why right at the end of that transit, Neptune in Pisces, just about to go into Aries. It'll be happening very soon, actually, before we know it, it'll be happening. And on February 20th, I think, is when Saturn and Neptune will be conjunct in Aries, 0 degrees. And so this whole time, Neptune has been creating this void, an absence. And this is the precipice that we're on. If things seem very depressing and dark and confusing, it's very much where we're all meant to be finding ourselves right now. Um, it's hard to say that anybody wouldn't be feeling this way right now under these circumstances with all these planets doing what they're doing. And I've been talking about it. Um, yeah. So there is a rectangle in the middle of this chart that involves the moon and the sextile to the south node. Hmm. And the south node in a trine to the sun in conjunct with Venus and Mars. And there's a sextile over to the north node and a trine back up to the moon in Cancer. Now, this rectangle being made up with the nodes, it tells us also again that there is something very faded about this full moon, and we're bringing in spiritual and mystical energies. There might be something that happens that seems supernatural. It might seem like impossible, but this is the nodes at work with the full moon. The nodes are in a mystical rectangle. I think that's what they call it. And that's what I've been told. But it is a rectangle. Trine, trine, sextile, sextile. I mean, it stood out very clearly. As soon as I drew up the chart, I was like, wow, that's interesting. It feels like a portal, like a door. It literally looks like a door, right? It looks like a door that's inviting you to come through it. And there will be things about walking through this door and this portal of this full moon that are asking you to leave behind um, certain beliefs, certain structures that aren't working anymore, systems that aren't working anymore. We're being asked to leave these behind, to shut them down, leave them behind, literally let it go. And we're being asked to lean into the mystical, spiritual, magical happenings that are popping up to fill that void of the things that are being let go. And in order for new things to show up, we have to let go of some old things. That's just one of the laws of nature. And yeah, so this full moon is really asking us to consider our, our future, what we're building, what are we trying to make real, what kind of family structures do we really believe in? What do we really want to carry with us into the future? It's a very promising um, full moon that we're experiencing as we come into the new year. It's just one that when you stay mindful that there are painful things that are surfacing, or maybe not just painful, but maddening, some maddening things that are popping up that will be, um, you know, do you to participate in the events that are coming up that are a part of the past, or do you choose to participate in the events that are coming up that are part of the future? And that's what that doorway is about. That doorway turns into a doorway to the past or a doorway into the future. And it's your frame of mind that encodes it, basically. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. So this full moon is really, it's important for all of us to actually make some intentional decisions. Capricorn wants you to be responsible, and Cancer says that there is a home or a family, a group of people that you identify with as your tribe that is calling for a like a bigger commitment, I think because it's been a while since people have been truly committed to something that they love. There's been a lot of commitment towards things that we don't like. And that's one of the things that's standing out to me about this full moon is that we're really being asked to look into what we love and focus on what we love and what will take us forward. Um, what is that mountain that we're going to climb next? What's that all about? Because if you look at the new year as a mountain that we're climbing, then what is it that you're about to get into for the new year? And it's time to be a little bit more intentional so that we can, build something that is really worth putting our time into. This Capricorn is about the time that it takes to do something also. time ticking away. Um, we may all realize that there is not enough time in the world to fix the things that are broken. And there'll never be enough time in the world to fix the things that are broken in a certain way. And it doesn't mean that there is any kind of giving up that is being called for, but maybe a part of surrendering to the truth that there are there is a new start coming, and we can't be afraid of what that might be, because just because we've been trained to be afraid of what is coming next, right? We've been programmed to fear change. And Pluto in Aquarius is asking us to not fear that change, because it's coming whether you like it or not. And there'll be things changing and transforming. And the next season that we come into after Capricorn season will be Aquarius season. There'll be a lot of the planets interacting with Pluto. And so here we have a moment to have some intentional input before, the shit hits the fan with Pluto. I'm not saying that it's going to be like that, but there is a potential for some chaos to come up because of because Pluto's in Aquarius, and Uranus rules that. Uranus is unpredictable. So, and that's the next step. The next lunar event will be the new moon in Aquarius, right? Mm, No, it'll be in Capricorn. It'll be at the end of Capricorn. Wow. Oh. So yeah, because it has been like that with the new moons after the full moons, it just feels like we're experiencing a bit of a upside downness. Um, it's hard to explain why it feels like that to me. It's that we are experiencing a full moon lunation in the season before the new moon in a in the zodiac sign that we're in. Um, so it feels like, with regards to that, having the full moon before that new moon in Capricorn, we already have something that we're going to be seeing fully illuminated before we get to that new moon intention setting phase coming next, which will be in just a couple weeks. All right. So yeah. Mm, yeah, thank goodness Chiron is stationing to go direct. Um, it's finally, breaking out of that. Uh, I mean, it's still going to be in that square with Jupiter for a little bit longer, as Jupiter's still going retrograde. And then it'll be going back over all of those degrees again. So it'll come back into that square again. So now is a good time, if you haven't already been looking at healing family issues, Now is a good time. You still have the opportunity to really face things that have challenges in your family because each family has um, like a shared challenge. And sometimes there's just the one of us that is strong enough to do the work of um, like trying to, ultimately fix family complex, family challenges. And that's very hard work. It's very isolating. You can feel so alone when you're healing from family dynamics because ultimately you're not wallowing in misery with these people anymore. You're not playing their games anymore. And sometimes, sometimes ultimately the feeling isn't peace all the time. Sometimes it's just a feeling of loneliness. And I believe that Capricorn season can bring that out. Mm, It's the, the tail end of the holiday season. Obviously, that brings the loneliness and isolation, feelings like that out. But um, mm, yeah, just uh, what did I do? I lost my screen. What did I do? I think I'm still screen sharing. I'm not sure. I'm gonna stop the screen share. And so, and it's a good time to end it. 'Cause I pushed a button. I'm not sure what happened. Technology. Yay. Well, thanks for joining me again for this full moon talk. And I really hope that the new year comes in ultimately nice and peacefully. Um, there's um, a lot of evidence that we could be um, feeling cozy during this time if we just lean into what makes us happy and identifying with the things that we like instead of the things that we don't like. And like you really just want to start taking a look at that because it's something good to practice coming into this new year is telling yourself maybe your resolution can be to not complain so much or to um, talk more often about the things that you like and that you love and that you're passionate about, as opposed to talking about the things that you don't like all the time. So I hope everyone has a very happy new year, and I will be back talking with everybody about the upcoming new moon in a couple weeks. So I will see you then. Okay, bye.